A quick recap of the tract. So this is your dorsal ascending pathway or dorsal column ascending tract, in which the uh, first order neuron, it terminates at the level of the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis, right? These are nucleus gracilis and these are nucleus cuneatus in the sides, right? So this is where the first order neuron terminates, and then and another very important information that these tracts are going ipsilaterally, and the new fibers that are being added, they'll be added. For example, if this is here, so it's going ipsilaterally, new fibers will be added laterally, right? Same case here, laterally, the new fibers are added from the upper. So the ones in the middle, they're from lower limb, and the ones from the side, they're from the upper limb. Right? So this is going ipsilaterally and terminates at the level of the nuclei, and here it forms the gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, and then here forms the internal arcuate fibers. Crossing over occurs finally, and then medial lemniscus, and then it goes to the ventrolateral, uh, ventrolateral, right? Ventroposterolateral, ventroposterolateral, ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, and then posterior limb of the internal arcuate of the internal capsule, and then it goes fans out and to the postcentral gyrus of the cerebral cortex. So this was your dorsal ascending column. Then, and that was for the fine touch and vibration, proprioception, 2 point discrimination. When you talk about anterolateral, so anterolateral is for the all the primitive sentences. Anterior is for the crude touch, lateral is for the pain and temperature. So for lateral, it's going to go and it's going to go to the contralateral white column, right? But first of all, its first order is going to finish here. So this is the first difference, that it's going to stop here at the substantia gelatinosa, and the second order is going to begin here, and it's going to go to the contralateral, and it's going to ascend. And as the new fibers are being added, they'll be added medially because it there was crossing over. So if they're coming from here also, they'll be added medially because there was crossing over. Understood? So new fibers here will be added medially. So the ones in the middle, they'll be from the cervical segments, and the ones at the lateral will be from the lower segments, which is the sacral segments, right? So this is for the lateral spinothalamic tract. So it terminates at the substantia gelatinosa and then contralateral white column, and then ascends and goes, and it also forms spinal lemniscus at this level of the medulla oblongata. There it forms the medial lemniscus, right here. Don't forget the medial lemniscus here, right after decussation. So this is spinal lemniscus, and then it goes to the ventrolateral posterior nucleus of the thalamus, same, and then it fans out from the internal posterior limb of internal capsule, goes to cingulate gyrus, goes to insula, and fans out to the postcentral gyrus of the cerebral cortex. Cingulate for the emotional aspect, postcentral gyrus for the past experiences, and to the insula for the autonomic from internal organs, right? And the slow bend fibers, they are going to go to the reticular formation and the interlaminar nuclei of the thalamus. So this is for the, instead of going to the ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, they're going to go to they're going to go to these two structures. So this is our lateral spinothalamic tract, which is for pain and temperature. Anterior, that's for crude touch. Again, it's going to come substantia gelatinosa, second order neuron, it's going to ascend, spinal lemniscus, and everything will be same, right? And the new fibers will be added medially. New fibers will be added medially. How? Like this. See, contralateral, because it's going contralateral, that's common sense, the new fibers will be added medially. So this is anterior. Everything upwards will be same. Right, and then don't forget the tracts of Lissor, which are sending in descending branches of the first order axons, which are coming from the posterior root ganglion and they're reaching the tip of the dorsal gray horn. Right, and then don't forget the spinal lemniscus. These three, lateral, anterior, and spinotectal, are going to make the spinal lemniscus. Done, and don't forget about reticular formation, that it is on and off switch for your brain. Now, this is your analgesia system. Fibers descend from here, they release inhibitory substances, morphine-like substances, enkephalins, and endorphins. So, what are the three structures? One is periventricular structure, periventricular gray matter from diencephalon, and then you have periaqueductal gray matter in your midbrain, and then you have the midline nuclei, refi nuclei of the brainstem. So in the digestive system, and then there's gating system, in which you have connector neurons that release the inhibitory neurotransmitter. Why connector neurons are stimulated? Because you gave any other stimulation other than the pain, right? And then the rest, you have three cerebellar tracts, and then you have three more tracts. These three tracts, first of all, the reticular one, spino-reticular tract, it just goes ipsilaterally and goes to the reticular formation. This is to stimulate consciousness. That's it. But the spinotectal and the spino-olivary, they are going to go to the contralateral. So spino-reticular is very unproblematic. Ipsilateral and done the work of stimulating the consciousness. That's it. For spinotectal and spino-olivary, contralateral white column, and the spinotectal one is going to ascend till the level of tectum, which is the superior colliculus in midbrain, and spino-visual response will be generated. Your spino olivary tract contralateral, and it's going to go to the olives in your midbrain, and that's it. Your proprioception and cutaneous inflammation is reflex is produced. Then if you talk about spinocerebellum, so this is for unconscious information, all the unconscious information. So you have dorsal, cuneo, and anterior. Anterior, where a lot of mixing happens. So anterior first, okay, first let's talk about dorsal. It comes here. First order neuron, cell body is here in the dorsal root ganglion. It comes and terminates here. Second order neuron, now the very important, you have Clark's nucleus here. So first we spoke about substantia gelatinosa, right? In your anterior and lateral. In dorsal, there was no termination here. It directly went and terminated at nucleus cuneatus and fasciculus. Here it's terminating at the nucleus of Clark. From here, second order neuron is going to go and it's going to axons are going to go ipsilateral to the lateral white column, ipsilateral white column, and it's going to ascend to the inferior cerebellar peduncle because it's dorsal posterior, so inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? Anterior one is going to go and it's going to terminate at the dorsal horn of the gray matter. From here, what will happen? Second order neuron will be originated from the dorsal Clark nucleus, and they're going to go contralaterally to the superior cerebellar peduncle, and from superior cerebellar peduncle it's going to come to the cerebellum. But this is so confused that it came here and realized that actually I belong to the cerebellum because it started from here, right? And then dorsal Clark nucleus contralateral, and then superior cerebellum, but it's not in the right superior cerebellar peduncle, but it's not in the right cerebellum. So it decides to go back, crossover, and go into this. So anterior is very confused. Spinocerebellar, it actually goes to the accessory nucleus of cuneate, and this takes information to the upper limb. Accessory nucleus of cuneate shouldn't be confused with the nucleus cuneatus. Do not confuse it with nucleus cuneatus. So cuneo-spinocerebellar is different. This basically takes information from spine to the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? This also goes through the inferior cerebellar peduncle. And the other thing about this is that the fibers here are known as posterior external arcuate fibers. Posterior external arcuate fibers, and these were the internal arcuate fibers, don't forget. And the ones, see, these are internal arcuate fibers. Those were the posterior external arcuate fibers, the ones that are produced here, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it.